evening, wherever you are in the world. You are here live with us on Co-Working Live with Red Worldwide, and we are so excited to have you to be a part of what we're doing today. And with that said, we're going to jump right into it. Co-working Live is really our answer to having live classes for people to take advantage of free of charge every single day, Monday through Friday. And so with that said, we try to bring some good content to you that would be educational, something you can use right now in your business, and something that you can actually bank on when it comes to the validity and the credibility of the information. So that's really important as a business owner. But I want to jump into it because this is going to be a short one today. As we do most Fridays, we have a little bit shorter session on Fridays. And so we want to go ahead and jump into our slides. So Javon, would you bring our slides up, please? Okay. So today we're going to be talking about business intelligence, unveiling business intelligence insights, unlocking data for informed strategic decisions, maximizing business efficiency. And I know that's a mouthful, but let me just tell you this. First of all, I'm Dr. Patience Jackson Rose, and I am the CEO and founder of Red Worldwide. I am the chief navigator here. And so I like to consider myself a person who helps to guide people, into a particular place in their business that helps them to create sustainable strategies, have predictable profits, have actionable steps that people can follow, standard operating procedures that helps them to run their business, efficiently, and, to try to get them back their time and freedom and, to just do business better. And so when we're looking at how we do that, we have to factor in that we need some insights. We need to be able to have information. And so business intelligence is an area in business that actually looks at the data, looks at what it is that has been happening and how those things are happening so that you have something to work with as you're making new decisions. It's information that informs your decision-making process. And so when we're talking about unlocking data for informed strategic decisions, to be able to maximize your business efficiency, you've got to be able to understand what kind of data to look at and how the data can be collected so that it's easy for you to see it and to make sure that it's credible, based on how you collect the data. Sometimes data can be skewed. I remember when I was teaching school, and I taught, elementary school, I taught middle school, I taught high school, and I taught college. So I can tell you, throughout my tenure and teaching, I had to be a part of a huge amount of data collection. We did a lot of that by testing the students, and then they would take those tests. They called them standardized tests back then, and they would measure this one student against the pool of students that had been involved in the testing process. And based on that, they could tell you where your child's educational acumen fell, at that time, the information that they had amassed and how well they knew the information, or for that matter, how well they could test to show what they knew. That information came about and helped them to, gain access to what for most parents understood as, the type of information that would help them to make informed decisions about their children, whether or not the child needed help with tutors or, all types of things. And so testing is one of the main ways that children were able to show what they knew, and it also showed what the teacher had taught. Okay, just saying. Okay, but it was good information at the time, the best information we knew how to provide. to help people understand where the children were. Well, in your business, you have to also be able to get good information so that you can see where the business is going, how well things are running, things that you might want to put in place, so it helps the business to do better at what it does, and it helps your employees or your contractors or whoever it is that's helping you, your volunteers if you're a nonprofit, to be able to actually support the business in a way that makes better sense. So let's take a look at our first slide here, and let's talk, through, what we're going to learn today. Javon, can you get the next slide? Okay, so today we're going to learn, we'll do a little bit of an introduction to business intelligence to kind of help you understand what that is. We'll explore business intelligence and its benefits, okay? We'll learn about improving business decisions with data analysis insights. And then we're going to talk about unleashing the power of business intelligence tools. And then we'll finally look at how do we maximize the insights, the data that we've collected for our own collective success in our business. Okay, let's take a look at the next slide. Okay, so when we're looking at the concept of business intelligence and how business intelligence works, we want to really be able to understand that really looking at hard data sometimes is difficult, and you got to be able to unlock the insights, that you're looking at. Okay. You got to be able to unlock them, because sometimes it's not a clear picture of what's really going on in the business. And so, and when I say this, I want to be really clear that sometimes we have things that happen in our business and it's not the intended action, so we have these unintended consequences when we introduce certain things in the business. And unfortunately, what ends up happening is we see something different than what it is that we were expecting. And so we have to go back and look at what we did so that we can make sure that whatever it is that we're seeing doesn't end up becoming a situation for us that is a challenge. So let me give you an example of what this could look like for a business. So, some of you guys are aware that we run several businesses, and we also are pastors at a church, and are associate pastors at a church. And as a result of that, we get lots of data for lots of reasons. And one of the things that I did, in the ministry is because we have a shelter and people sleep there nightly, we collect the information about the people that come in. We don't necessarily keep all of the data that, other shelters might keep, but we keep data that we think is pertinent. And one of the things that I have been able to look at is of the people that we have that have been with us a long time. They stay there nightly. They've been serially homeless or unhoused persons. We look at some of the reasons why this might be happening. And so in the collection of the data, I've been able to have some factors that seem to be the same for many of the people that come in. And based on those factors, we've been able to come to some good conclusions that will help us understand, what it is that is going on, in our community that is contributing to homelessness. And so in that realm, we have, been able to now see what we need to do to help mitigate some of those issues. One of the things that we found early on is that a lot of the people that came to us did not have their documents. They didn't have access to, for whatever reason, maybe they had lost it, or we have no idea what had happened to some of their documents, but over a period of time of them moving from place to place, they lost their driver's license or their ID card, social security cards. Some of them didn't have copies of their birth certificates. None of them, had a passport. So, those are the kinds of things that we found that were, prevailing issues for most of the people who came in. So what we did is we had a specific day every month. When we were meeting with them on Saturdays, we had lots of meetings during the week, and they had to come to Bible study every morning. And then, of course, they had to come to church on Sundays if they wanted to stay at our location. But on Saturdays, we had a specific day of the month that we would work on their documents, their personally identifying information. And so we would give them vouchers for their driver's license so they didn't have to pay for it, or if they had an ID card, they didn't have to pay for it. We helped them to secure copies of their we gave them a grant, and that would allow them to get copies of their birth certificates. We actually took a group of them down to the Social Security Administration and dropped them off so that they had the opportunity to get a copy of their Social Security card. And this is before a lot of those documents could be secured by just ordering online, because we did this one before the pandemic. During the pandemic, they made it so that all of these documents could be secured online. Nobody had to physically go into an office. But at the time that we were doing that, we felt like, we were improving their options and helping them to have not become a factor in the statistic, that talked about how, 90% of people who were unhoused did not have their, documents, their personal identifying information. And the other thing is that it removed from them, or remove them from being in the group of people who were on a path to, going to jail or a path to prison, because we also found that in those statistics that we, secured, it showed that people who didn't have documents were more likely to end up in jail or prison. And one of the main reasons for that is because in our city, where we are located, if you are on the street without personal identifying information that is credible or qualifying, and notice I did say qualifying, meaning that there's only certain kinds of documents that they will take as, qualifying documents for saying who you are, then you would get to be picked up by the police and they would take you to jail. And it's crazy that happens, but it's what happens in our city. And so based on that, we tried to make it so that the people who we were impacting were not in that position where they could have their, identifying documents on them. And that way they would not be in a situation where if they were sequestered or questioned or queried about who they are, they, wouldn't have something to prove that. So one of the things that I would say about the insight that we unlocked is that we unlocked an insight that helped us to find a place where we could better serve the community that we were looking to serve. In your business, you might unlock an insight that helps you to figure out a service that you might need to add, or a product, or, some other menu item on your curated menu, for your restaurant. It might show if people are always ordering a specific type of food, it might lead you to add items in that particular group of, a kind of food group, to better serve the customers that are coming in. So, one of the things that I will tell you is that a lot of people during the pandemic, they use their business intelligence insights, things that they were able, the data that they were able to collect before we actually were in a situation where they reopened the world and allowed people to start, coming back inside the restaurant. Some of our restaurant owners who were clients of ours, what they did was they collected the information from their previous receipts to see what were the most often served items. And based on those items, they created a smaller menu that could be takeout. So when people called in or when they went online to order, they only had a certain amount of items, but they used the most ordered items on that list so that they could reduce the amount of food that they were, ordering, and, better manage their expenses during a time where they had a lot less customers to serve, because of the pandemic. So I will tell you that business intelligence is so important, and you have to discover the power of it, because when you know that you can collect data that will help you serve people better, then then, you begin doing these things. I would hope you would. One of the things that we did in our, nonprofit organization that serves businesses, the one in which, we have created as a membership, Red Worldwide, we collect data to see what services people use from us most frequently. And then we put money and technology and more people behind those services so that we could serve people better and faster and, make sure that we can improve our customer lifetime value. We also looked at what services we really weren't doing very much of. And some of those things we took off of our roster. We no longer do some things because we can refer people to companies that do those things, and they do them well and they do them exclusively. And it doesn't cost us any money to refer. We're not getting any money to make those referrals, but it makes it so that our clients get served better, from companies that are doing that particular thing. And that's what they're doing, in general. And so we can now concentrate more on what it is that we have to bring. Okay, Jerome, will you go with our next slide, please? Okay. Exploring business intelligence benefits today. Now, I talked about how before the pandemic, we used the business intelligence one way, and some other clients that we have, we know that they were using business intelligence as well. They were getting their data from specific places that may be, a little antiquated now, or that we have better technology now. And so when we're talking about exploring business intelligence benefits today, I want you to be thinking about the fact that some of the things that we did to collect data before, we did by hand, and especially when we had more in-person services. We collected our data, by looking at what people were, using when they came into our offices, or, and some of it we did online, but a lot of it was, in person. And I know of a lot of our other clients who are serving people in person. A lot of what they're doing to collect their data is through, what the people are ordering or how they're interacting with them in person. And so they're getting that information in that way. However, we have come to understand that you can really boost your operational efficiency with business intelligence tools. So by implementing business intelligence tools, it can streamline your process and enhance productivity within your organization. When you use technology to do what sometimes your team was doing before, so this can improve your efficiency. Make it such that you can get things done faster or even more accurately. One of the things that I have seen is we use technology now because we have people scanning QR codes and answering questionnaires, and using our app to do a lot of things that we used to do in person, or by having a person do it. Some of the phone calls that we used to have to receive to answer questions, our phone rings a lot less now based on the fact that we have better tech. And I'm saying that people can now go to our website and could take advantage of using our bot that looks just like me. My likeness is there, and my agent is what I call her. She's able to answer their questions on the spot. And a lot of their questions that they normally would call to ask me can be easily answered using our AI, agent. And so I will tell you that, having these tools, Javon Freeman talked about, using AI tools yesterday, and it was such a good episode. And if you missed it, please go back and watch it, because I'm telling you, she brought out a lot of really good points of how you can use AI, and for things that that humans don't have to do. So you can use the things for, your company that humans only can do. And so when you have some human only kind of processes, you really want to use the tools when you can. And then data analysis improves your decision making. And you got to be thinking about the fact that you can use those insights that you get to leverage that data and drive strategic business decisions and growth. You have enough information, you can make decisions that will cost you less money, than if you don't have that information. I've seen times where I spent so much money putting something out there only to find out that it was something that nobody was going to use. And that was money that we couldn't get back. sometimes because, it was just, money that was spent on a consumable. And so I will tell you that when you can have the data, you can now see, do we really need to do this, or when do we need to do this? And how do we need to do it? For whom do we need to do it, based on the data and the information, the intelligence that you have. Next slide, please. So when you're able to improve your business decisions with your data analysis insight, you get some visual representations a lot of times, and you can see the trends. And so you see my little makeshift chart on here on the right hand side, and you see how I have from 0 to 50 on the left hand side, and on the bottom got item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, item 5. Well, we use a software called Airtable, and with Airtable, when we put in any kind of data, we can actually create a chart or a graph or some type of diagram showing us what the data looks like. If you use Excel, some of you guys are also familiar that you can turn data that you put into Excel into, a chart as well. If you use Chat GPT or Perplexity, or Bard, you can do some of the same things. You put the data in, even as a narrative, and you can tell it, create me a graph that expresses what is going on in my company. You can say things to your AI, to tell your AI assistant, and tell it, hey, create a graph based on this information. 5 of my 10 employees are late on Tuesdays. Okay. 3 of them are late on Fridays, and everybody's on time on Mondays and, Wednesdays. 1 person is late on Tuesday. Okay. What does this look like on a graph? And then they can show you, the lateness, and then you can start looking at, okay, what other things are happening. Well, you can also feed the AI this kind of information. There's lots of traffic on the freeway on, Thursdays. There's no traffic, on the freeway on Fridays. There seems to be less traffic on Tuesdays. However, on Wednesdays and Mondays, there's light traffic, but no one seems to be affected by it. Okay. What could that mean? Now that intelligence that you could be presented with can help you solve your own problem. Maybe you need to start everyone's work time at a different time on the days that the traffic is, worse. Or for that matter, maybe you should change the time, for every day. If depending on the kind of work that you do, maybe working from 10 to 6, will solve the problem. Okay. Because people are in less traffic. They don't have to leave as early. Or you can maybe have everybody work Monday through Thursday and, or Tuesday through Friday. And so that, could also take away from some of the situations that's going on. Start work at 10 o'clock, Tuesday through Friday. Maybe you guys work 10 hours instead of 8, and that could solve the issue. But the business intelligence helps you to make the business decisions. And based on having that information, you can really see, how strategic decision planning, works for your company. I remember, having to make some decisions when I had a school in Southern California that really helped to create a better learning environment for the students because of the data that we had collected. We found that if we picked students up at their front door and delivered them home to their front door, we had a lot of things that were different for that student during the day, during their class time. There was a lot of, there weren't any tardies, of course, because the kids were picked up in the morning and they were dropped off in the evening. And there were a lot of children who came with their homework done. It was quite interesting how the ability for them to get picked up from their front door changed their the amount of times they came in with the homework not done. Okay. And so I have no idea what the connection was. I didn't try to figure all that out. There was no AI back then. I just knew that we took the raw data that we had and we made some strategic decisions about how we served the children in that school. And it changed everything for them. And, with regards to, how their day started off, we could feed them breakfast because everybody was there at a certain time. And we made sure that everybody got breakfast. They got a hot breakfast. And so that changed, of course, some things that happened for them in the course of the day. At the end of the day, we were able to, do some things for them going home that made sure that they had their homework with them on the bus, because we did last minute checks when they got on the bus. Hey, take out your homework, make sure you have it. We found that a couple of people had forgotten to put it in the backpack. So we had a different kind of process that we were able to put in place, to make sure that the students, were having more guidance and nurturing, in certain areas that we could weigh in on to help parents better parent, and they helped us be better at, teaching. And so it's quite interesting to look at what you can do with data, how it can affect the trends in your business, and how these informed decisions can happen, just by you having better information to start with. Next slide, please. Next slide. There we go. Unleashing the power of business intelligence tools. So we really want you to discover how data insights drive success in organizations, period, but also in your organization. And the way you do that is just try a simple trial, okay? Collect some data. And the data might be simple data. Depending on the kind of organization that you have or business that you're running, you might want to look at collecting data of, satisfied clients, okay? And seeing if you can know anything that's the same about all of the clients. So collecting maybe you don't have to necessarily collect the clients' names, but maybe you collect the age of the client. Maybe you collect where the client is located. Maybe you collect how the client comes to you, if they're coming from an agency, or if they're coming from a referral, or if they're getting to you through TikTok or Instagram. That might be important information. Collecting 4 or 5 pieces of data might help you understand better, who your client base is, and, what other things you could be doing to help serve them, or for that matter, how these clients are, more acclimated to what you're doing, and what causes them to become lifetime clients. They've been with you 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. That might be good data to collect. And so when you are collecting the data and then you sit there and you evaluate the data, see if you can find things that are common, and see if you can find things that stick out that may tell a different story to you. See if you can find areas that you're not doing well, so that you can use this data to, turn some things around. It's important for you to do the discovery. Sure, you can hire an outside company to come in and do an audit, to try to help you figure out how to run your company better. But when you have the data, and you can sit there and look at the data, sometimes things come to you that may not come to an outside auditor. So, start with you. You look at the data and see, what is it that's driving success in my organization? And is there something that I need to do to change some things that will better serve the community of people that I'm trying to serve, or better help my employees or my contractors do what they do, or for that matter, better help me become better at doing what I need to do for the clients? Those are really, really important things. Next slide, please. So as we are ending our session today, I want you to pay attention to the fact that we can really maximize the data insights for our success. When we leverage business intelligence for strategic decision making and growth opportunities, we are able to use one more tool to help us, be on the cutting edge, or to have a unique value proposition to offer to our target, audience, the people who we are choosing to do business with. It's important for you to be able to learn your community, learn who they are, learn as much about them, and data helps you to do that. Learn who's working alongside of you, whether that be your contractors, or whether it be people who are employees, or whether it be vendors that you're working with. You can do that by collecting a little data. Just get a little information, and that information can help you work better with them to bring what it is that you're designing to the world. You know, whether it's you're a restaurant trying to get food into the stomachs of the people that are coming to you, or whether it's you are a nonprofit trying to make sure that children are, not, going to class hungry. Whatever it is that you do, you can do it better with data. And we just wanted to make sure that you had this information today so you could learn how to use business intelligence as a skill to better run your organizations. This has been Patience Rose, Dr. Patience Rose, here with Co-Working Live and Red Worldwide, and we'll see you again next time.